Anyone else in need of a book? I got two. One. There you go.
He said this is the same one we got.
Well, you can look on right now, and then you can turn in when you get through, you know. It is page 68 is where we're at. Chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9. And in a moment, I'll need somebody to read verses 1 through 13. Chapter 9 in your Bible, and it's page 68 in the book. Okay. We'll ask Mark to lead us in a word of prayer, and we'll begin.
Pray. Our gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we humbly come before your matchless throne of grace. Thank you so much, dear Lord, for this beautiful Lord's Day after all the many showers that we've had. Father, we're just so grateful that we're able to come to this place and able to worship you and to join in fellowship with our brethren here, Father, to study more about your will. Father, we're grateful for our teachers this morning. We pray that you can be with Brother Hugh and others that are teaching this morning and directing the classes. And we pray, Father, that we will do things in accordance to your will, that we will truly rightly divide your word and impart it into our hearts and teach it to others. Father, we're mindful of those who are very unfortunate for the things that they've suffered this last couple of weeks, and we pray your continued blessings be upon not only our church family, but Father, for those in and around our communities, those of our family, extended family and friends that we're aware of that are suffering and struggling due to the storms and even the elements of life. And Father, we're so grateful to have your word, to be able to know you and lean upon you and have that trust that we have that you have all things in control, no matter what things happen around us in this life. Father, as we study this morning, we pray that we'll have an open heart, open mind, and open Bible, and that we will take these things that we're using and practicing every day for our life. Be with those, Father, who are suffering and struggling, those who are sick, and especially those, Father, who are spiritually sick, and may we be an influence to those around us. Thank you for Jesus and for everything that he has done for us. We give you thanks and praise, for it's in his name we pray. Amen. Amen.
All right. We're at the bottom of page 68 again, chapter 9. Would like someone, if they would, read verses 1 through 13. Do I have a volunteer? Please, thank you. 1 through 13.
And getting into a boat, he crossed over and came to his own city. And behold, some people brought to him a paralytic, lying on a bed. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." And behold, some of the scribes said to themselves, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or to say, rise and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sin." He then said to the paralytic, "Rise, pick up your bed, and go home." He rose and went home. When the crowd saw it, they were afraid, and they glorified God, who had given him such authority to men. As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man called Matthew, sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. And as Jesus reclined at the table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and were reclining with Jesus and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when he heard it, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners.
Okay. Now, at the very beginning of verse 9, it says, of his city. Might have thought Nazareth was his city. Again, those coming in, if anybody needs a book, I've got one extra. And we're in chapter 9 on page 68 in the book. But he says his city, and it's mine. It's his is capitalized, it's referring to Christ. What city is this that is his city? Capernaum. Thank you. Capernaum. He had recently left Capernaum so he could get away from the crowds a bit. He had gotten in a boat and crossed over part of the Sea of Galilee to get away from Capernaum and the crowds. Now he's back. Okay.
7 says that he entered into his house.
Right, his house. He was staying.
So
He was staying in Capernaum. That was his center of, he went out from Capernaum in different directions and came back to Capernaum. Maybe this was his center of his, where he was preaching and teaching and everything. He'd always come back to Capernaum. Now, what is special? What does this miracle show that others
What
do
did
not?
you say? What did you say?
I was
Did you say
thinking-
about verse 7?
No, he said 7 also says his house.
But that's talking about the parent of the cripple guy.
Okay, you thinking it's the cripple? Let me see. 7.
Read 6 and then read. Rise, take up thy bed and go to thy house. And he arose and departed to his house.
Yeah, and he got up and went home. Yeah, it was to his home, you're right. Paralytic's home. But, we're at least in the right, this is Capernaum is his city. Apparently he does go out from Capernaum in different directions and preach. And a lot of times he crosses the Sea of Galilee to go to the other side or to go to another part. There's several cities along the Sea of Galilee that he could, rather than walk, he could take a boat. Now, the question I wanted to ask, and I just did, what does this miracle show that the others do not? I said last week, or Wednesday, that these miracles, every one of them is unique. Every one shows something different. What does this one show? Sure.
Then he had the power to forgive sin.
Right, he had the power to forgive sin. In fact, which one did he do first, the miracle or forgive sins?
He forgave his sins first.
Yeah, he forgave his sins first. And that caused a little bit of an uproar. Why? What was the uproar?
well, it's blaspheming to do something that when you're not God.
Right, you're taking on gotcha. You're taking on deity.
You're judging.
Yeah. And so he's doing what only God could do. And the Pharisees called him on it. And he said, basically what every miracle does, it confirms two things. What did we say last week and the week before? What are these miracles for? To confirm two things. The Word is one. What else?
Jesus is the Son of God.
That Jesus is the Son of God. So it confirms him as being God, and it confirms his word as being truth. So those are the two things you got to keep on your mind every time you see a miracle. This miracle is for a purpose. It's not just he goes out and he finds somebody that needs healing. He's doing it for a reason. So this one, he forgave sins first. The Pharisees got all upset and said, you're blaspheming. And he says, which is easier, to heal the man or to forgive sins? If I can do one, I can do the other. So then he did heal the paralytic. Okay. Next one, the next section is not a miracle. It's Matthew is asked to follow. Wait a minute, I thought he already had his disciples. Didn't he already call all of his disciples? Am I wrong? Why is calling Matthew kind of special? Because I thought he had already called everybody. Did I miscount? Shirley.
Just like they looked at Gentiles.
All right.
They considered honest people.
Right. In effect, he had taken this Jew that was collecting taxes was looked on as the same as a Gentile. Now, why? Someone else. Why? Why is this Matthew looked on as he's a tax collector, right? But why is he looked down on?
Well,
Even though he's a Jew.
as a tax collector, he's an agent of the Roman government. And that's enough.
That's enough right there. He's an agent of the Roman government. They see him as a traitor. What else? Anything else you know about tax collectors?
They weren't known for their honesty. They would charge more and keep the difference.
Right. They were not.
They needed and they keep the extra that they want.
Yeah, they were not honest. They would gouge the people for a little extra and keep the little extra and give the Roman government what they asked for, and he'd keep the surplus. Now, so he picks on Matthew, a tax collector, a traitor, and one of many that are rumored to be cheats, and he calls him to be an apostle. Now, let me see, Chris. Yeah, they get into a point where they criticize the company's keeping, because Matthew invites him to stay and eat with some of his friends, and some of his friends are tax collectors too. And this is, the Pharisees are saying, you're eating with these people.
You notice the Pharisees wasn't winning the battle with Jesus, so they tried to undermine the disciples of Jesus to try to put doubt in their mind and to create some kind of distrust, if you will. And so Jesus nipped it in the bud, as Barney would say.
Yeah, they weren't having success with him because everything they called him on, he canceled out whatever they said. They said, you're blaspheming. And he says, what's easier? Heal his paralytic or forgive his sins. So he did both. And they just had to shut their mouths. So you're right. They're starting to attack the disciples, and they do it continually from here on. They will attack the disciples just as well as Jesus. The next thing is a question about fasting. We've talked about fasting before. This time, what is the problem with fasting? I've got the question: is fasting or not fasting a problem? What's the problem with it? Either fast or not fast. Why is it a problem? Is the Pharisees bringing this up?
Because Jesus and his disciples weren't fasting.
Yeah, it was not fasting that was
They were not
wrong.
fasting, so they, when you're supposed to, it was all tradition. And for them, I think it was all for show most of the time. I think you had some sincere people in the Pharisees, the Sanhedrin, like Nicodemus and folks of those natures, but I think they were in a minority.
And the scribe that came forward and wanted to follow Jesus in the previous lesson, there are some people in the Sanhedrin that honestly do.
They realize what's happening, but for fear of losing their power.
Right. They keep quiet.
They keep quiet, yeah.
But here they're saying the disciples don't fast. Why? That's a problem only because it's not keeping up with tradition, ceremony, that kind of thing. Now, what's Christ's answer to the disciples not fasting? Which shows what fasting is really for. What did Christ say? They're not fasting because. Yeah, I'm still with them. There'll come a time when I won't be with them, when they'll what? Like in a funeral, they'll be upset. They'll be emotionally distraught because Jesus is gone. He's died. That's the time that they would fast. And he's pointing out it is an emotional thing, not a ceremonial thing. It's something you do when you have lost someone, something you do when your life is gone to, you're lost all your money, or you've lost a loved one, or you've lost this, or you're lost that. Fasting is something you do emotional, not ceremonial. Okay? So that's the point he wants to make here about fasting. They were doing it for the wrong reason. Okay. Yes.
One reason is for the wrong reason, because a lot of people don't fast when there's problems in, debt, whatever. Sometimes people will eat more.
Yeah.
They will go that route instead of fasting. They will find themselves eating more.
Kind of as a substitute. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a lot of people do that today, and causes weight problems. But yeah, eating in order to substitute for what you've lost. Yes, that happens today. All right. The last thing here is, let's see now, wait a minute. Yeah, we've got to read some more verses because I have come to the end of 13. All right, I need somebody to read verse, where is it? 14. I have it marked. Yeah, here it is. 14 through 26. If somebody would volunteer to read 14 through 26 in chapter 9. Anyone? Thank you, Mike.
That's long.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to cut it into thirds.
Then the disciples of John came and said, "Why do we the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus said to them, Can the wedding be performed as long as the bridegroom is with them? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and they will fast. No one puts a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch tears away from the garment, and the worse tear is made. Neither is new wine put into old wineskins. If it is, the skins burst, and the wine is spilled, and the skins are destroyed. But new wine is put in fresh wineskins, so both are preserved. While he was saying these things to them, behold, a ruler came in and knelt before them, saying, My daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her, and she will live. And Jesus rose and followed him with his disciples. And behold, a woman who had suffered from a discharge of blood for 12 years came up from behind him, touched the fringe of his garment, For she said to herself, If only I touch his garment, I will be made well. Jesus turned and seeing her said, Take heart, daughter, your faith has made you well. And instantly the woman was made well. Jesus came to the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making a commotion. He said, Go away, for the girl is not dead, but asleep. And they laughed at him. But when the crowd had put it outside, he went in and took her hand, and the girl arose. And the report of this went throughout all the districts.
Okay. Now, this is a miracle within a miracle, kind of. He starts out to go to do a miracle, and he gets another miracle, and then he comes back and does the miracle he was headed to do. What about Jairus? What about Jairus? Tell me about Jairus. If I'm saying it right, Jairus. Who is Jairus? Gentile or Jew? All right, he's the ruler of the synagogue, so he's a Jew, right? So he comes and asks Jesus to save his daughter, correct? Now, thinking back, we had one in chapter 8 who was a Gentile and asked his servant to be healed, but he didn't ask Jesus to go with him and heal his servant. He said, if you say it'll be, it'll be. Now, Jairus did not do that. Jairus wanted him to come to his house and save his daughter. Of course, his daughter is much closer to him than the man's servant was probably close to the man, the Gentile. But since he doesn't actually let's wait on that miracle till it occurs. And let's look at what he finds on the way to Jairus' house. What happens what happens on the way to Jairus' house that is special? What about this miracle that occurs on the way to Jairus' house that is special? There's something about it that hasn't been on any of the others. Yeah, he read her mind, and she just touched his garment. That's all. She didn't even ask. All the other miracles they've asked, heal this, heal that. She didn't ask.
Well, he knew when she touched him, or when she touched the garment. And it may not reveal that in this particular book, but it does reveal it in the other Gospels that when she touched him or touched his garment, he knew it.
He knew power had come out of his body because her faith was so great. She thought if she could just touch his garment, she would be healed. Now, what has she got? What is the healing? She's hemorrhaging. She had been hemorrhaging, bleeding for how many years? 12 years. This is something she's had to deal with for a long time. And immediately when she touches the hem of the garment, she's healed. And Christ knows she's healed because he feels the power come out of him. This is unlike any other miracle that we've seen or will see. This is very rare. What was the effect when he made this statement? What was the effect when he made this statement? He stops and he says, power's gone out of me. Who responds and how?
I think that's in one of the other accounts here.
Oh, it's not in this one?
No, Mark reveals it.
All right, we have to read in Mark to get that. Okay. All right, 5 verse 30. Mark 5 verse 30. Yeah. When you've gone over these things as much, you forget where you got what you got. You said Mark 5 verse 30. All right, 5 verse 30 and 31, I guess. 5 verse 30. Immediately Jesus, perceiving in himself that the power proceeding from him had gone forth, turned around and in the crowd and said, "Who has touched my garments?" And the disciples said unto him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you, and you say, Who touched thee? Who touched me?" They're just wondering, how did you know somebody specifically touched you? Everybody's touching. Everybody's bumping up against you. They're following you very closely. You're in the midst of a huge crowd. So it was because she touched him and through her faith pulled power from him that he knew that somebody special had touched him. Okay. Then we go to Jairus. Let's see, make sure I'm in the right place here. Yeah, we go to Jairus, Jairus' daughter. Yeah, I'm getting back into this one. All right. Yeah, what is special about Jairus' daughter? What is special about this miracle? Yeah, this is the first one, right? This is the first time he's going to raise somebody from the dead. So this is something he hasn't done, and very few people in the history of the Bible have done. And that is raise somebody who has died from the dead. So this is another step along the road of increasing difficulty of these miracles, raising somebody from the dead. Modern day people who claim to do miracles won't even try or attempt this one. Anything else you notice about this interaction with Jairus' daughter?
I think it's interesting that in chapter 5, verse 36, he says, overhearing what they said, Jesus told them, don't be afraid, just believe. We talk about how much faith it takes to believe in his power, and he wasn't even there yet, but they all followed him because they believed. And I just thought that's interesting, the point that he makes, a simple sentence, but it has such power.
Yeah, the faith that these people have. Yeah, and that's something that really astonishes him time after time and time to time, is certain people and the amount of faith they have. It's something I won't say he didn't expect because he knew it was going to happen, but this is something special. This is special faith that this woman, that they had. Okay, now we want to pick up reading. Yes.
We can kind of juxtapose that great faith with the mockery and the laughter that's also there in the situation.
Yeah, what did it say? There was a mocking.
After Jesus says, go away, the girl is not dead, but is sleeping. This is from a funeral.
Oh, she is asleep, and they began laughing. Yeah. They, meaning some of the people in the crowd, not the people you're talking about in Mark, but other people in the crowd. There's two different factions in this crowd. Some of them said, this is way beyond anything you could do. Just, they laughed at him, basically. This is something you can't do. Yeah, that is a good contrast right there. There are different factions in the crowd. Sure.
So piggyback on what Chris was saying, I mean, I think the English translation of laughing at him is probably a little bit lighter than what was happening. It was derisive laughter at Christ. This was not just kind of like, oh, that's not going to happen. It was like, you're a fool for thinking that this is going to happen. The
fact that she's just asleep. She's dead, man.
Yeah, that she's dead. You're not going to wake her up. Right. And it was derisive. The word is very negative.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right, let's pick up with 27. Need somebody to read 27 through 38. This one's only 11 verses. 27 to 38 to the end of the chapter. Chris, thank you.
And as Jesus passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying aloud, have mercy on us, Son of David. And when he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, do you believe that I am able to do this? And they said to him, yes, Lord. Then he touched their eyes, saying, according to your faith be it done to you. And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly warned them, see that no one knows about it. But they went away and spread his fame through all that district. As they were going away, behold, a demon-oppressed man who was mute was brought to him. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man spoke. And crowds marveled, saying, never was anything like this seen in Israel. But the Pharisees said, he casts out demons by the prince of demons. And Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest."
Thank you. Now, a couple things about the miracle with the blind man. Anything you notice special about this one that's different from ones we have seen previously? There's two of them, right? They came to Jesus, two blind men.
If my memory, which doesn't exist anymore, the only ones that had acknowledged him as being the Son of God, the Son of David, all this were the people possessed with demons, the devils. Demons were. But these guys didn't have demons, these blind guys, and they knew who he was.
Yeah, there's a lineage thing that's going on. This Messiah had been predicted by many of the prophets, but he had to come through the lineage of David. And they said, "Thou son of David." They recognized his, if you say messiahship, his right to be the Messiah since he was the son of David. And that means they must have known his family background. They must have known his mother and father, apparently.
Or maybe they knew the scriptures and realized what was going on with
Yeah.
them. You know,
They could have said, all these miracles you've done, you have to be the Messiah, therefore you got to be the son of David.
You know,
got to be the
because
son
all
of
the prophecies, you're fulfilling all the prophecies. So
Yeah.
those were probably good, honest folks that knew the scriptures.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is true, but in your experience, don't blind people see more? Yeah, blind people seem to know more, seem to see more. Frank?
The next part is it's different in that I don't know whether Jesus was overcome with the laughter or what, but then he says to these guys, who Carolyn has already said is in their right mind, and then he finally extracts a confession out of it. Do you believe I'm able to do this? And they said, "Yes, Lord."
Has it been the case before this that he's kind of turned it around on them and asked? In Matthew, at least.
Yeah, I wonder.
This is the first time that's
I'm
happened.
thinking he's in the same area. He's in the same crowd. The same crowd that was here that said laugh at him for saying he could raise this woman, she's only asleep. The same crowd, the same factions are still here. So yes, I think he may be turning it around. I don't see that he said he went from there, and as far as I know, the crowd followed him because the crowd's been following him everywhere. So this same group, factions for and factions against, factions that are faithful, factions that are looking for something to pull out to pull him down, tear him down, they're still there. These people, these two factions are still there. So once they say, "Thou son of David," then he asks them, "Do you believe?" to make sure that the crowd hears this statement. Then he touched their eyes, saying, he didn't do the thing he did before, or not before. In the future, he will go down in the dirt, get some spittle, put it on their eyes. He'll do something to the eyes. This time he just touched the eye. Now, what is interesting about what happens after the miracle? And this has happened before. This is not unique. What happens after the miracle that has happened before?
He tells them to go, but to tell no one.
Yeah, tell no one. He's told the leper to tell no one, except the priest, to go to the priest and make sure, let the priest make sure he's clean of leprosy so he can again live with the people in the city. But here he said, "Go tell no one," again. And I would assume it's for the same reasons, but what happened? What happened?
They told everybody.
They told everybody. And the writer says, well, wouldn't you? If you were not able, if you're blind and not able to see, and all of a sudden you can see, wouldn't you start telling people? Wouldn't you be happy? Wouldn't you have to just, it would flow out of you. You'd have to tell people. And so they couldn't help it. They told people, even though he commanded them not to. All right, now the demon. The demon is cast out of the man who could not talk. What about this miracle is special? And I think this is almost laughable, but it's
First advent of fake news.
fake news. Yeah.
I mean, their eyes were open, and all of a sudden, they were taken aback by something that he did, but he'd already been doing stuff, and they were laughing at him. So, and then when he did it by the prince of he cast out demons by the prince of demons.
Right. It says he casted out demon devils, though through the prince of the devils.
See, that's a deliberate intent to deceive the people who were listening and smitten, if you will, with everything Jesus had said. And they're out there casting doubt and despair instead of taking up the banner of the cross, so to speak, or banner in praise of Jesus.
Right. They were just trying and trying. And here I think Christ shows they're really just stabbing at one last straw. You know, they were grasping. I've got to find something to tear this man down. And Jesus said, what? To show that this is almost up there with Ahab and Elijah. And Elijah's up there on the mountain, says, talking to these people that are trying to get their God to burn this sacrifice of it. He makes fun of them. He makes, your God may be off on a journey, or maybe he's sleeping. It's almost that funny, that farce. I lost the word. Farce. Yeah, it's a farce. So what did Jesus point out that's so stupid about what they said?
More than likely, if the demon was possessing somebody, he wouldn't want to cast himself out after wanting to cast himself in.
Right.
Why would the devil want to take the demon out?
Yeah, this is something the devil used to torment people. Why would the devil let someone or give them power to take this man out, take this demon out of the man? These things occur several times, and Jesus makes the argument that's like somebody working against themselves, a kingdom that is internally working against itself. And many people may say that's what happened in the United States. I don't know, but they're working against themselves. They're tearing themselves down. That would be stupid. Why would the devil do that? So Jesus is pointing out just how silly that is. Now, he makes a point down here at the last section. He says, how many did Jesus heal? He said the number is not important. It's important what he healed, what he did, what miracles he did, the variety of miracles he did. In fact, we have we've already gone over one prophecy where they said he would do all kinds of miracles, and he did. So, the last point is of the lesson, why miracles? Why does Jesus do miracles? There's at least 3 things that I can think of that would answer that question. Why does Jesus do miracles? This is kind of review. To confirm his deity, 1. What else?
Confirm his power.
Confirm his power and the power he has to preach to them. What his message is from God. It's not just somebody's opinion. It's God's opinion. This is God talking. So 1, he's deity. 2, he's speaking for God. What about a third thing here?
think the same reason that John writes it down in chapter 20 of that you may believe and have life to the truth.
Right. These are things that are done so that you might believe in me and in my message and in the kingdom. Basically build their faith. Jared?
Yeah, in John as well, in chapter 10, he says that, you can understand that the Father's in me and I'm the Father. So it's a way to tie that connection between Christ and our Father in heaven.
Okay.
There may even be a fourth thing.
I was thinking there was.
One of the things that it accomplished is it relieved the suffering of those that he healed.
Yeah.
Right. And especially this demon thing. Personally, I do not believe there are demons now because we don't have the ability to cast them out. So this was something that without Jesus, nothing could have been done. These demons would never have been cast out.
I think the key verse in this chapter is verse 13. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous but sinners. Now think about this. And since we've already picked on Bill, I'm going to pick on Bill. Bill, and please, Bill, I'm not making light of you. Bill is blind, but Bill is going to heaven. And when you have to put that in the balance, which is more valuable, going to heaven is more valuable than being blind. It's more valuable than a Christian who dies in a covenant relationship with the Father. It's more valuable than being a paralytic. It's more valuable than being lame. It's more valuable than anything Jesus did in this chapter. And if we don't get the fact that, just like in the latter part of 9, he looked on those people and had compassion on them, for they were harassed and helpless. And I don't know how many people in the audience today will hear the sermon. They will hear Jesus proclaiming. And they don't know whether to get up and walk out or stay and listen or what they're going to do. But before they leave, they've got to confess Christ, either in a positive manner or say amen. You see what I mean? And so the chapter is not about healing. It is, it's a part of the chapter. But the chapter is confessing Christ and believing that he has the power to deal with any problem we have. And one of the saddest commentaries on my brethren are those who sit in the crowd and say, I'm too bad to go to heaven. I don't deserve to go to heaven. You know. Well, Jesus didn't deserve to die on the cross, but he did. You know. So we've got to take everything, really think it through and really be refreshed in our minds relative to these miracles and how important they are and what they teach. Because we're just like we are a vision of the blind, of the dead, of those that can't walk. And my wife tells me that them grandkids have got the devil in them a lot. So let's be real. You know. So we gotta come to terms with our Father in heaven.
Chris and then Mark. And I will.
Well, I think Bill and Frank both actually get us back to the text, which is really important, especially verse 36.
Right.
It seems to me that we can say that, there are these purposes for the miracles, and those are all fair, and those are all accurate. But it seems to me that verse 36 is Matthew's idea of the purpose behind these healings that we have seen. This is a people who are sheep without a shepherd. And Jesus, in coming and Jesus in doing these things, is their shepherd.
Yeah, it describes them as being distressed and dispirited. They just are. They don't have anyone, especially a lot of these poor Israelites, Jews. There's a lot of rich, but there's a ton of poor people. And they don't have anything. They have demons in them, they have all these diseases. He's it. He's it for them. But then it finishes up in 38 saying, there's tons of people out there. It's not just these people, they're everywhere. The harvest is ready. Mark.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, Mike.
Kind of where Chris just was, and what you're, maybe what we see right here is God and an individual, relationship between the individual and God. These are all individual situations where people had access to God through Jesus. And it also is a caution to me that the Pharisees are still trying to discredit Jesus. God is between those in authority over me and me. I don't have to go through that authority to get to God.
Exactly.
And if that authority is criticizing my God or trying to discredit my God, Jesus is proving they don't have any power.
Yeah. Mark.
That's kind of interesting what everybody was talking about, and Frank and even Bill and Chris. I was thinking about how true it was that the last two verses of the climax really do the whole story. When Jesus only took Peter, James, and John into the room where the girl was healed, there was a distinct message that I believe he was trying to get across that we may often miss, is that he did not want the miracles to overshadow the preaching of the kingdom. They were losing sight of getting all caught up into what the master teacher was doing, that his purpose was far beyond what they were seeing. And you know, as Frank alluded to, their eyes may have been blinded and they were looking at it dead on.
I'm looking. God, just a second.
Going back to verse 30, it says their eyes were open, and Jesus strictly charged them, saying, see that you tell no man. It says, but they, when they were departed, they spread abroad. And my version, Jesus' reputation was spread abroad. They didn't have to tell. It was just a coincidence. I was going to bring up Bill. If Jesus walked in right now and healed his eyes, he would not have to tell it. It would be seen. He wouldn't have to open his mouth and tell. You see what I'm saying? That's what that is. You don't have to go out and tell it because it's going to be seen.
Okay. Thank everyone for your participation. Seems like what we can do is cover chapter a time. I start Wednesday on the next section, which